They gathered in silence. Flowers on the coffin, final prayers whispered. The grave was sealed, and everyone went home believing it was over. But weeks later, a knock came at the door. Not from a visitor, not from a stranger, from the postman. Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter. The handwriting was familiar, painfully familiar. It was the same handwriting they had just buried. The date on the stamp was clear. The ink was fresh, and the message began with words only the dead man used to say. This letter was never supposed to exist. In the late 1800s, during a time when letters were the main way people stayed connected, families trusted the postal system with their most personal thoughts. Love letters, confessions, apologies, everything traveled by ink and paper. That trust is what made this mystery so disturbing. Across parts of Europe and North America, several families reported receiving handwritten letters weeks after burying a loved one. These were not random notes. They were deeply personal messages, addressed correctly, sealed properly, and delivered through official postal routes. At first, families assumed it was a mistake, maybe a letter written before death and delayed in transit. But that explanation collapsed almost immediately. Postal stamps showed mailing dates after the funerals. The letters spoke about events that happened after the person's death. One mentioned a family argument that occurred days after the burial. Another referenced flowers placed on a grave, details the sender should never have known. Most unsettling of all was the handwriting. Families brought old journals, legal papers, and personal letters to experts. Again and again, handwriting specialists reached the same conclusion. The writing style, pressure spacing, and unique letter formations were consistent with the deceased. Not similar, not inspired. A match. Authorities were notified. Investigations were opened. Postal workers were questioned. No suspicious employees were found. No evidence of tampering inside the system. The envelopes had no fingerprints, no return address, no witnesses. Some officials suggested elaborate hoaxes, but no one could explain how an impersonator would know such intimate details. Private memories never shared publicly, secrets kept within families. Grief psychologists offered another explanation: emotional projection. They argued that mourning families might interpret vague messages as meaningful, but many letters were anything but vague. They contained names, dates, and unfinished conversations that aligned too perfectly to dismiss. As word spread quietly through records and archives, the cases were never officially solved. No single explanation fit all reports. Over time, investigations slowed. Files were archived. The letters stopped coming. But the question never faded. Were these delayed messages written before death and cleverly timed? Were they the work of someone watching from the shadows? Or was history recording something it didn't yet have language for? Whatever the truth was, it left behind only paper, ink, and silence.